Good evening, people. Save on some energy, guys. Okay? So, have we met before? No, we haven't. So, we haven't had essay classes, we haven't had any current affair classes. So, we haven't met before, right? So, this is the first interaction that we are going to have. So, fine. So, it's going to be a long association now. You guys have to bear with me. So, the point here is that society, post-independence, social justice, ethics, essay, current affairs. So, it's good enough sessions that we are going to be together. So the point here is, since this is the first lecture, this is the first interaction that we are having, so you guys are not aware about my teaching style. I am not aware about your intellectual level. Okay? So what we are going to do is, we are going to give each other some time and space to get comfortable to each other's style of teaching and style of understanding. Is that very clear? Okay. One thing, since this is a huge class, there are a lot of students out here, you need to keep quiet. नहीं, only a request. फिर वो एक इंसान बोले तो ठीक है, बहुत सारे लोग बोलते हैं तो समझ नहीं आता बात कहां से आ रही है. ठीक है, that's one thing. Second thing is that you need to understand that for society, you do not have a standard reference. We are meeting for Indian society today. One challenge when it comes down to Indian society is that we do not have a standard reference. Unfortunately, we do not have a Lakshmikant for Indian society. Right. Similarly, I'm going to teach ethics in your batch. Unfortunately, there is no Lakshmikant for ethics. And same goes for social justice and essay. So all we need to do is, we need to understand the demand of the paper and accordingly prepare ourselves. One thing. Is that very clear? Second thing is, do not have too much expectation from your own self. What I mean is, do not expect that in the very first 2-3 lectures, you will just nail Indian society. You will understand everything about Indian society. It doesn't work like that, right? You need to give yourself some time to get into the groove of it. But along with that, what is important is, right from the very first lecture, you need to work upon it. Because if you can, okay, how many of you have gone through previous year questions of Indian society? How many of you have gone through the syllabus of Indian society? Good enough. Majority of us have gone through it. That was a sarcasm, dude. There is something called sarcasm. Okay? So the point here is, were you given the schedule that today we are meeting for Indian society? Yes? घर से मेहनत कौन करके आता है? पैसे दिए, मैम अपने आप देखेंगी क्या करना है? Is that clear? See, the point which I'm trying to make here is that until and unless you don't go through the previous year questions, you don't go through the syllabus, what are you going to prepare? Obviously, I am there and you have pretty much a lot of confidence on me, I think. That इसीलिए हम देख कर ही नहीं आए. जो पढ़ाएंगी सब ले लेंगे. ठीक है? So the point here is that today is the first lecture. It's an introductory lecture. I will give you an understanding how are we going to proceed with it. And from the second lecture, we will start with Indian society officially. Is that clear? Sometimes it will happen, I will be introducing certain terminologies in the class. I will make sure that all those terminologies are being noted down by you. But sometimes it would happen that certain examples are being given as a part of a conversation. But we do expect you to make a noting of it. It might sound very juvenile, but that's my teaching style. You have to divide your page and there has to be a margin there. I'll tell you the reason. The reason is, you're not writing your mains tomorrow. It will take time. You are appearing next year, right? So there is a considerable amount of time before you come down to writing your mains. There would be a lot of new information which would be added by that time. So there has to be a margin so that you can add all the new information there. You can add all the examples which I'm giving in the class there. Because the problem in mains is consolidation of material. You do not have material at one place. Then it becomes a challenge. Is that very clear? Okay. Now to proceed with, the first and foremost thing is, this is my way of understanding that before studying anything, you should have a clarity. Why are you studying that topic? It is very important to get that sense of confidence that why are we even studying Indian society? What is so important about this paper that we are investing our time in this paper? So why, what, and how? That is very essential component before you start your preparation. Is that clear? So the first thing, why do we study Indian society? Why are we studying Indian society? We live in Indian society. Okay. Fine. ठीक है. So to understand the diverse set of people, to understand the happenings which are there around, anything else? Fine. To understand the social problems and to solve the social problems which are prevalent in the society. You have to work, you have to administer Indian society, so you should be aware about the nuances of Indian society. Okay, I got the point which you are trying to say. Are you guys aware about tribals? Obviously, you would not have studied it very detailed, but you must be knowing about the tribals, right? Can you just tell me some problems which tribals are confronting? Education, discrimination, employment, displacement, marginalized section. So more or less, there is a reason why I am discussing with this. So you know the problems which are existing, right? You know the nuances which are there with respect to the tribal population. Somebody said we are studying Indian society because we have to provide the solutions to the problem. Let us say the problem of tribes is with respect to education. Let us say the problems of tribes is with respect to their health. Let us say the problem is displacement. Problem is their tribal knowledge and culture is getting marginalized. Let us say this, these are the problems. Now the job of Indian society, while you are studying Indian society, is to provide the solutions. Now my question is, how will you provide the solutions? In what capacity? By educating them about government initiatives. Fine. What if they don't understand your aspect? Matlab, you are trying to create awareness, but they are not able to understand. Because the language in which you are creating awareness is the language which they don't understand. Local people? Local language, local dialect. Are you getting my point? What I'm trying to tell here? That the most important aspect is, before providing the solutions, you should have an understanding that what should be your perspective towards tribals. I'll tell you what I mean by this. Let us say this set of students says that tribals are very different people. They should be left on their own. Because if you try to encroach into their area, they might retaliate. So tribals are very different, leave them on their own. That is the solution which they provided. This set of people said that nahin, tribals are not different. It's just that they are backward Hindus. So they should be brought within the fold of Hindu culture. This is what they suggested. But there was another set of people who suggested that nahin, this should not be the criteria. The criteria is tribal culture should be respected. So what we need to look for is integration. That you brought them within the fold of larger society without compromising their individual culture. Did you get the point? All I'm trying to say is, problem is same. Solutions are different depending upon the perspective. So you study Indian society first and foremost to develop the thought process. If you do not have a thought process, you cannot provide the solutions to the problem. For example, I can tell you what is Uniform Civil Code. I can tell you the advantages of Uniform Civil Code and what are the challenges. But whether it should be implemented or not, that thought process has to be yours. I can tell you why reservation is given. What are the arguments in the favor of reservation? What are the arguments against reservation? How it needs to be implemented, thought process should be yours. Are you getting my point? Okay. Have you, by the way, everyone out there, we have yet not started studying. This is just the conversation which is happening. I am just giving you an idea what you are venturing into. किस कुएं में कूद रहे हो, उसका बस एक idea दे रही हूं. Is that very clear? ठीक है. Another thing, have you heard about migration? सुना है? Migration is a positive concept or a negative concept? Negative concept? Both positive, negative concept. Can I say migration is just a phenomena? It is neither positive nor negative. It depends upon the nature, pattern, extent, direction of migration that it is termed as positive or negative. When Constitution gives you the fundamental right, you have a fundamental right to migrate. Obviously, there are certain reasonable restrictions, but you have a fundamental right to migrate. So if you have a fundamental right to migrate, that means it cannot be a negative concept. But still, there are many problems which are associated with migration. Now see, your thought process will determine what kind of solutions you would be providing. Is that very clear? For example, if you consider migration to be a negative concept, you will say migration बंद करो, क्योंकि negative concept है. Are you getting the point? So the thought process is very important to come up with the right kind of solutions to the problems. You study Indian society to develop that thought process. Is that very clear? क्योंकि problems हम सबको पता है. Challenge आता है what kind of solutions which are supposed to be given. And solutions cannot be given until and unless you do not have a thought process. Read this. This is what we talked about. To develop a perspective on Indian social system, to sensitize the officials about the discourses of society, and finally to provide the solutions to the existing problems. This is the reason why you and me are studying Indian society. Now look at the screen again and tell me, can this be the structure of most of your answers? The perspective becomes the introduction. The nuances become the body. And solutions become the conclusion. Did you get my point? So whenever you are reading the newspapers now, all you need to do is, if you come across any topic which is relevant from society, this is how it needs to be prepared. What should be your perspective with respect to women or the vulnerable sections? What are the problems confronted by women and the other vulnerable sections? And based on the perspective, you have to provide the solution. And as and when we are proceeding with the topics, you will understand that this is how we proceed. Is it making sense for everyone? Okay. See, we have not studied tribals. When I'm teaching post-independence, I'll cover all these things. Policy of isolation, assimilation. Assimilation, when I talk that they are backward Hindus, is a perspective which is given by G.S. Ghure. He's known as father of Indian sociology. Policy of isolation, which I talked about, it is given by Verrier Elwin. He was a British anthropologist. And the policy of integration that we talked about is the policy which was given by the then leadership. So we will discuss about it when I'm teaching you tribals. But did you understand the agenda, how we are going to proceed? Is it clear for everyone at the back? Okay? The next thing is we need to talk in terms of why or to what extent it is important. I have not added 2021 here. In 2021, 80 marks paper was asked in GS paper 1 itself. There is lot of marks which is riding on this subject in case you are able to identify. In GS paper 1 itself, 75 to 90 marks. That is the range in which you will be getting questions from Indian society. Indian society forms the base for the questions of GS paper 2. There is a portion called social justice. And from social justice, every year you have 4 questions. So 40 marks even in GS paper 2. Indian society forms the basis of your ethics. What is ethics? Code of conduct at the societal level. So if you don't understand the nuances of society, it becomes challenging to understand how to apply ethics. Is that very clear? So there is too much which is riding, and most important, essay paper. Essay में good content would be required. Even if they are asking you philosophical topics, even then you need to have the understanding of society to create the fodder in your essay. Do not take this portion lightly. Why am I saying this is a general tendency among the aspirants to prepare for prelims. क्योंकि एक बार prelims हो गया, फिर देख लेंगे. तो फिर हर साल सिर्फ prelims ही होता है. Are you getting what I'm trying to say? And trust me, mark my words, I have been in your position. All we care about is economics, geography, polity, history. Because we believe that prelims में इनसे सवाल पूछते हैं. We don't even realize that mains में there are too much which is at risk and which needs to be covered. This is an important section when it comes down to your mains and it comes down to your interview. Do you realize without mains and interview, you would not, depends what is your ultimate aim, to clear prelims or to become an IAS officer. So if it is to become an IAS officer, take this portion seriously. Is that very clear? Take it. This is how the syllabus looks like. The point here is we do not have a standard books where these syllabus are given, not even NCRTs, right? So the challenge is how you and me are going to prepare. So it is very important for each one of us to learn the art of deconstruction. For example, they have given us salient feature of Indian society. But what to be studied under salient feature, they have left it on us to comprehend. Now, very simple question. What, according to you, is the salient feature of Indian society? Somebody said caste system, patriarchy, family. Just a sec, guys. With respect, somebody said diversity. The moment you write diversity, it covers everything now. Linguistic diversity, religious, regional, race, and ethnicity. What I have not covered here is caste, because caste we'll take separately. What I have not covered here is class, because class is not a salient feature of Indian society. It is present in every other society. So that is why it is not being covered. Salient feature means that distinguishing characteristic which makes you unique. So what are those factors or features which gives a unique character to Indian society that constitutes the salient feature? Is that very clear? Today I am just giving you an idea that what all you can expect in the coming lectures. For example, the moment we touch diversity, the first and foremost thing is, with respect to diversity, there is always certain problems. For example, linguistic chauvinism. With respect to religion, it is communalism and fundamentalism. With respect to region, it is regionalism, racial intolerance, and ethno-nationalism. This is how we are going to proceed. And I told you that it is important to have a thought process. One of the most important salient feature of Indian society is unity in diversity. So do you understand that if this is the thought process, that means we need to preserve our diversity? So that has to be the thought process. So if there is any problem related to diversity, whenever you are providing the solution, keep in mind that diversity should not be suppressed. Because unity in diversity is one of the salient feature of Indian society, and even Constitution says that we need to preserve the diversity. And for that you have different provisions in your Constitution. Is it making sense for everyone? Okay. Can we say the kind of secularism which is existing in Indian society is also a salient feature? Is it making sense? Can we say that our society today is in the phase of transition, where you can see a blend of tradition and modernity? We cannot say that we have completely become modern, and we cannot say we have completely given up on our tradition. Most importantly, you need to understand that tradition and modernity are not mutually antagonistic. ऐसा नहीं है. They are not mutually exclusive. Both can coexist. Modernity is not the opposite of tradition. Modernity is only the opposite of regressive practices. Is that very clear? We'll discuss that later, but as of now it is clear for everyone. Okay. Can we say, to put it in a simple word, what we witness in India is multiculturalism? Okay, what is multiculturalism? एक जन कोई भी. Blend of many culture is multiculturalism. Exactly. Multiple cultures existing together. Just having multiple cultures does not mean multiculturalism. It just means cultural pluralism. But when there is peaceful coexistence among different cultures, that is what is referred as multiculturalism. Write down this concept. Multiculturalism. Multiculturalism, right? It refers to cultural diversity. It refers to cultural diversity where there is peaceful coexistence, among different cultures, of the society, Next. People have a tendency to retain, celebrate, and transmit their culture from one generation to another. Do you agree with the last statement? See, everyone tries to do that. I will be discussing that in the later classes also, that every individual is governed by two things. One is their culture and other is their livelihood. Are you understanding? Just try to introspect for 2 minutes. Isn't this the reality? Are we not affected only by our livelihood and culture? Culture is a broad domain. There are too many things which forms the part of culture. Culture is nothing but the way of your life. So you are driven by your culture and livelihood. So we do everything in our capacity to retain our culture, to celebrate our culture, and to transmit our culture from one generation to another. It is very important if you are having a diverse culture. India is a heterogeneous society. So it is very important that you need to respect the space of the other people also. There has to be peaceful coexistence among different groups. Is that very clear? That is why the concept given is multiculturalism. If I would have said India is culturally pluralist society, that means we are having plural cultures. But when we say India is a multicultural society, that means there is peaceful coexistence among diverse cultures. That what we respect is unity in diversity. Is that very clear? Now, with respect to multiculturalism, there exist two schools of thought. I think अगर पॉलिटी हो गया है तो ये पढ़ लिया होगा. One is melting pot and other is salad bowl. In case you have studied good enough, in case you haven't, I'll just make a reference to it. Melting pot, if you can imagine, you have a pot. You have added different ingredients to it. You have churned the ingredient, you have created a new dish. Altogether a new dish. Where the flavor of the individual ingredients have contributed to create this new dish. But the flavor of individual ingredients is lost. That is melting pot. For example, when iron and carbon comes together, they are melted, it creates steel. Did you get the point? So metaphorically, we can also refer to this. This is nothing but the melting pot perspective of multiculturalism. Whereas there is another perspective, that is salad bowl. Have you been having salad bowl? right? So you have onion, you have carrot, you have cucumber, you have tomato. All of this is mixed. It creates a new flavor, but the individual ingredients flavor is not lost. That is what is salad bowl. So in India, what school of thought we practice? Salad bowl perspective of multiculturalism. Is that very clear for everyone? There are two school of thoughts. There are two school of thoughts within multiculturalism. Within multiculturalism, melting pot and salad bowl. Melting pot and salad bowl. Melting pot. People of different cultures melt together. People of different cultures melt together, deserting their individual cultures, and getting fully assimilated in the predominant society. Next, salad bowl. It describes a heterogeneous society. It describes the heterogeneous society where different cultures are brought together, as the ingredients of the salad, However, the individual flavor of every culture is retained. In simple words, if we have to talk about, salad bowl is nothing but the policy of integration. This is what needs to be followed. Policy of integration. That overall we have to bring them together, but make sure their individual identities and culture still remains. Is that very clear for everyone? Can we proceed? Okay. So these are nothing but the salient feature of Indian society. These are the topics which we are going to discuss. Okay. The next topic, role of women and women organization. This I will cover when I'm teaching patriarchy. So we'll discuss the topic in detail, at least 2 to 3 lectures on women issues, because that's the favorite topic of UPSC. Every year you have a question, if not a question then essay. So that's the favorite topic and we'll respect their choice. Next comes effect of globalization on Indian society. See, this topic I will take in the last lecture, because we just need to consolidate whatever we have prepared so far. But I will just give you a flow chart to give you an understanding what and how this topic needs to be prepared. Do you realize when the question says effect of globalization on Indian society, they can ask you anything? The moment they have written Indian society, now they can ask you anything. Now the difficulty is to what extent will you prepare? Okay? So what we can do is that, let us say, this is our Indian society. We will divide it into two parts. One is the structure and other is the culture. I'm asking you to understand this because I expect you to prepare your own set of examples. I will definitely give you examples, but do you realize if each one of you end up writing the same example, it doesn't look nice, right? So I'll give you an idea and post that you have to prepare your own set of examples. So let us say structure, let's divide it into two parts, sections, institutions. If you prepare in this capacity, I can vouch for that, nothing would come outside this realm. It's not because we know what exactly they are doing, but this is the trend that we have noticed. That this is how UPSC has a trend of asking the questions. So if you have a structure can be divided into two parts, sections and institutions, right? The question can be direct. Impact of globalization on women. Impact of globalization on old age, impact of globalization on youth, impact of globalization on vulnerable sections. Similarly, impact of globalization on family, caste, marriage, media, education, religion. These are the standard set of questions which can be asked if they are asking, because that is what the question says, effect of globalization on Indian society. So what constitutes Indian society? Structure and कल्चर, वही तो चीजें होती हैं, लोग होते हैं, इंस्टीट्यूशन होते हैं, एंड देयर वे ऑफ लाइफ. इज दैट वेरी क्लियर? ठीक है. दिस इज द फेवरेट एरिया ऑफ यूपीएससी. Every consecutive years they are asking you question from this area. It says, what is the impact of globalization on the culture? Now, before I come down to this area, what I expect from you is, whenever you come across any information, see, my job is to provide you information as and when I'm teaching in the class. So whatever is there in the latest news and everything, we'll try to cover it here. Otherwise, it would be covered in the current affair class, because that also I will be taking. The point of connect is that you need to take care. Let us suppose you have come across some article, right? ऐसा तो है नहीं, every article would be covered in Vision का current affairs, because people make the content according to their perspective. So you have come across a certain article. You need to understand whether this can be written as an answer as a part of effect of globalization on Indian society or not. The purpose of telling you everything in the very first class, why I chose not to teach and give you an overall understanding, is because that whenever now you are coming across the content, you should at least know in what capacity the content has to be used. Please trust me, nothing to discourage, but that's a fact. It is not a juvenile exam, right? Where you will be getting everything at one place. मैम एक जगह लिखवा दो ना कि क्या लिखना है. What if वो एक जगह का question ही नहीं बना? Then what will we do? My job is to prepare you for this exam, not to prepare you just for this particular content. And without sounding modest at all, you might think that I am going over the top, but my track record from 2013 till 2021, whatever has been discussed in the class, nothing has come outside of that realm. उसका रीजन है. नहीं देखो, अगर आपके टाइम पे नहीं आए तो आपकी किस्मत खराब है. मेरी टीचिंग पे नहीं डाउट करना. मेरा 8 साल का ट्रैक रिकॉर्ड है, तो अगर आपके साथ कुछ गड़बड़ होता है, पूजा पाठ करो क्योंकि किस्मत भी चाहिए, ठीक है. सो द पॉइंट विच आई एम ट्राइंग टू मेक हियर ऑन अ सीरियस नोट इज, द पॉइंट इज दैट्स I don't focus on the specific content. I focus on the conceptual understanding. Uska reason hai, we can't predict what UPSC is going to ask. So if you have the understanding of concept, you can answer any question. So two things I will be focusing in my subsequent classes. One is the concept, second is answer writing. I am ready to work hard as much as you want, but then you have to be serious about your efforts, because ultimately it is your attempt, not mine. Is that very clear? So what I'm trying to say is, whenever you read anything, just try to see whether you can write that as a part of this point. This is their favorite topic. I'll just give you an example how you are going to prepare. Homogenization means uniform culture. Matlab, our individual culture is getting lost. For example, McDonaldization of food habits. Pizza burger culture hai. Everybody is running after Starbucks. लाइन लगाकर इतनी महंगी कॉफी पी रहे हैं, मतलब कितना खुद ही दे रहे हैं, पैसे में माचिस लगाओ, स्टारबक्स की कॉफी पीनी है. इज दैट वेरी क्लियर? सो दैट इज नथिंग बट मैकडोनलाइजेशन ऑफ फूड हैबिट्स. देयर इज ऑब्सेशन विथ इंग्लिश लैंग्वेज. डू यू अंडरस्टैंड? अमंग अस, इंग्लिश इज नॉट अ मीडियम ऑफ कम्युनिकेशन, इट इज अ स्टेटस सिंबल. Whatever, if the other person is talking in English and fluent English, you just look, क्या इंग्लिश बोली? कंटेंट पे ध्यान ही नहीं है, इंग्लिश मैटर करती है. आर यू अंडरस्टैंडिंग व्हाट आई एम ट्राइंग? वी आर ऑब्सेस्ड विद देयर कंटेंट, विद देयर कल्चर. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, वेयरिंग वेस्टर्न अटायर, wearing traditional Indian attire, instead of being proud, we believe the person is orthodox, conservative. Thus, modernity is equated with the dress that you are wearing. That is the irony of the situation. We are so obsessed with Netflix, their content. I still remember I was interacting with a friend and he asked, did you see Game of Thrones ka last season? I said ki nahi, I know many of you will judge me after this, but I said that I am not into Game of Thrones. You like, क्या बात करिए, दोस्ती पे बात आ जाएगी. I was like, you never told that the criteria for friendship is to watch Game of Thrones. Are you getting what I'm trying to say? There is an obsession with Western culture and that is nothing but homogenization. But then comes some relief, that is hybridization, global plus local. The same content of West getting translated or dubbed into regional languages. We have Spider-Man in Bhojpuri. अरे मार्केट बढ़ाना है तो आपको करना पड़ेगा. That is global plus local. Is that very clear? McDonald's going vegetarian during Navratri. Global plus local. Are you English? Our classroom. Some Hindi, some English, and we will able to manage. That is nothing but hybridization. I am looking for these examples. Remix music. Yo-Yo Honey Singh, he's back. ठीक है, ये हनी सिंह मुझे इसलिए भी याद आ जाता है. I'll tell you the reason. I still remember it was 2011 or 12. A friend was appearing for the interview, and she was from Punjab, Chandigarh. So that time Honey Singh was in news. The reason were also the lyrics of the songs. ठीक है, so it was some controversy was happening. So then when she walked into the interview room, the first question she was asked, "What is your take on Honey Singh's music?" And she was taken aback. She was like, कहाँ बोर्ड में आ गई है? मैं इंटरव्यू ही है ना, यूपीएससी इंटरव्यू. She was just not expecting this question. So the point here is that they don't want to see the geek kind of people. They want to see well-aware sort of people who have a, I should say not opinion, just opinion. It can be misconstrued. A fact-based opinion or data-supported opinion on every relevant topic. Is that very clear? ठीक है. Last, revival of local culture. Matlab your culture is getting revived. Can we say International Yoga Day? Can we say Ayush? There is religious revivalism. So these are nothing but revival of local culture or demand for Indian fashion products in global industry. Chicken curry, bandhani. So all that demand is getting created. That is nothing but revival of local culture. दंगल ने इतना इंडिया में पैसा नहीं कमाया जितना चाइना में कमा लिया. So that is nothing but revival of local culture. Did you get my point? What I'm trying to say? ठीक है. So you have to prepare your own set of examples. For example, our national education policy saying that the education should be given in mother tongue. This is nothing but revival of local culture. Look for such examples. I have given you the broad idea. Whenever you are reading your current affairs, try to create those examples under different headings. Automatically your answers will be enriched. Is this making sense for everyone? This is how we are going to proceed, and this would be the last lecture, because before that we would have already discussed these issues, so we just need to revise, consolidate. Is that clear? Next. Do you see that communalism, regionalism, secularism is already covered? We have mentioned there in salient feature. So I will be covering this along with salient feature. But there is a topic, social empowerment. What do you mean by it? What is social? कोई academic definition नहीं. Take 1 minute, think and tell. ये टूट गया. दूसरा पे इसे कहते हैं बुरा वक्त चलना. एनीवे, कितनी मजा आ रही है. मतलब कहां थे हम? सोशल एम्पावरमेंट क्या होता है? दीज आर प्लेजेंट फॉर्म ऑफ डिस्ट्रैक्शन. अटेंशन स्पैन छोटा होता है ना, तो ये सब चीजों की भी जरूरत होती है. हर थोड़ी देर में मत करना, लेकिन कभी कभी इट इज अ प्लेजेंट फॉर्म ऑफ डिस्ट्रैक्शन. हाँ, what is social empowerment? क्या 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 क्या? अरे बहुत जोश में था. I seriously want to listen the answer. कहाँ है? Strengthening the structure of society. Yeah, we can say that. Or bringing about changes in the structure which has kept the sections marginalized. So we can put it that way also. Perfect. Anything else? Empowerment of various sections of society. Okay, what is empowerment? That is what my question is. Reservation for marginalized. Okay, we'll debate on that later. Giving the power. Okay. Absolutely. Developing a sense of self-confidence, bringing about requisite changes in the structure of the society, and the third important component, autonomy in decision making. That is what is social empowerment. See, whatever we discuss in class, there is a reason behind it. I'll give you an example. Is women at panchayat level getting reservation? Yes. That means in order to ensure political empowerment of women, you are providing her the reservation. Have you heard of a concept called Sarpanch Pati? That means she doesn't have the autonomy in decision making. So political empowerment is happening, but what is missing is social empowerment. Similarly, is women working in the labor market today? Yes, she is working. At least I'm not going by the data, but women are working in the labor market. But there was a report by National Family Health Survey number 3, which said approximately 89% of the women do not have the autonomy to spend the money that they are earning. किसी और का पैसा नहीं, खुद का पैसा. So the money that they are earning, they don't have the autonomy to spend that money. Matlab, you are getting access to job, you are getting access to financial independence, but what you are not having is the autonomy with respect to decision making, financial decision making. So economic empowerment is there, but social empowerment is missing. So can I say, listen carefully, can I say no amount of political or economic empowerment will give you the desired result in the absence of social empowerment? Can we say this? Or can we say this, that economic, political empowerment are the necessary condition, but not the sufficient condition for the overall empowerment? Because what is required is the autonomy in decision making. What is required is the confidence to bring about the requisite changes in the structure of the societies which have kept you marginalized. Is this very clear? Can we say this becomes the conclusion of most of your questions with respect to vulnerable sections? Because no matter which government, across the time, every government has focused on political and economic empowerment. What is missing is the social empowerment. Because for social empowerment, attitudinal change is the need of the hour. If patriarchy is persisting, social empowerment has not resulted. Is that very clear? Can we say this? Write down. Social empowerment. Social empowerment. It refers to social empowerment. It refers to the autonomy in decision making. It refers to autonomy in decision making and confidence to bring about changes in the structure of society, which has kept them marginalized over the years. Full stop. In the absence of social empowerment, no amount of political and economic empowerment will give the desired results. In the absence of social empowerment, no amount of political or economic empowerment will give the desired results. Is that clear for everyone? Okay. Now, why did I mention this in the very first lecture? Because you might think after we are finishing the course ki social empowerment to padha hi nahi, to aisa nahi hoga. When I'm teaching you vulnerable section, women ho gaya, SC, STs ho gaye, person with disability ho gaya, transgender ho gaya. So in every which jo way forward hoga, that is nothing but social empowerment. Is that very clear? Ha. A part of social empowerment, yes. See, when will you get that autonomy with respect to decision making? When will you get the confidence to bring about the changes? When you are made aware about your rights. Exactly. And generating that awareness automatically will bring about attitudinal change. Is this making sense for everyone? Okay. So what we focus on is the political economic empowerment, or in simple words, we have laws for everything. More or less we have laws, but laws every time doesn't give us the desired result. Because do you realize law formation is the first step. Implementing the laws is the second step. But the most important step is internalization of the laws by those for whom it has been prepared. Is it making sense? I'll give you a statement. Tell me whether you agree with it or not. Law determines the direction in which society should move. Law determines the direction in which society should move. It is the culture which determines the direction in which society actually moves. So until and unless you are not bringing about the attitudinal change, no amount of law will bring about the desired changes. It's a statement given by a very famous sociologist, Andre Bete. लिख लो, ये conclusion में काम आएगा. तो जो भी ये मैं इधर उधर की बातें करती हूं, लिख लिया करो. Apart from वो silly jokes, rest write everything. Andre Bete का statement है, spelling चाहिए. Andre Bete says, law determines the direction in which society should move. Law determines the direction in which society should move. However, it is the culture which determines, the direction in which society actually moves. Determines the direction in which society actually moves. Is it clear for everyone? Okay? Now this statement is very handy when you are writing most of your answers. I'll just digress from the topic that we were discussing. There was a topic which was asked in ethics. There was a question which was asked in ethics paper that despite increased legal provisions, listen carefully, despite increase in legal provisions, violence against women is on the rise. Can I say this statement becomes the conclusion? Did you get my point? And trust me, in society answers, if you conclude writing a quotation which is self-explanatory, ऐसा नहीं कि उसको explain करने के लिए you have to write a paragraph. So self-explanatory quotation, it comes very handy. वो जो एक होता नहीं है वो punch line last में देना, so it comes very handy, it is very effective. And less words you can convey more. So if you are good with quotation, please make use of it. In case you are not, then leave it, we'll discuss something else. ठीक है? Is this clear? There are 2-3 topics here. Population and associated issues. Simple topic. Every year you have a question and it's the easiest topic. So migration, fertility, mortality, demography, somebody said. We'll discuss everything in population and associated issues. There is one more topic. It's again the favorite topic of UPSC, poverty. I'll take this topic in GS paper 2 when I'm teaching you social justice. Because there is a topic there, poverty and hunger. I will club both the topics and we'll discuss it there. Last topic, which is not visible. So last topic is urbanization, the problems and the remedies, which is already deconstructed. What is urbanization? What are the problems and what are the remedies? This is how we are going to proceed. Now just 1 minute. Did you understand what we are going to study in the coming lectures? Approximately 10 to 12 lectures would be required. Okay. The reason being 10 to 12, because most of the things I will be covering in social justice as well. I will be covering in your essay classes. I will be covering in ethics. I will be covering in post-independence also. उसमें भी 2-3 चीजें यहाँ की हैं. So the point here is ये एक साथ चलेगा. So for society per se, 10 to 12 lectures would be more than enough. Is that clear? ठीक है. Next. See, the purpose of this is we are discussing previous year questions, not every question as of now. But one thing, as and when I'm teaching the topic, I will discuss each and every question in the class. Whatever topic has been asked, whatever question has been asked, everything would be discussed in the class. Because if you are not able to write the answer, my purpose of teaching is defeated. Okay, so that is outcome based learning. At the end, what matters is aap answer likh pao. So we'll discuss everything in the class. One thing. Second thing is, as of now, I just want to draw your attention to certain questions just to tell you what should be your thought process while preparing. Read the first question. Discuss the social problems which originates out of the speedy process of urbanization in India. Okay. Do you realize that urbanization is a progressive concept? It's a sign of progression. You are not only residentially moving, but you are also changing your occupation and you are also changing your attitude and value system. So urbanization is a sign of progress. It's a positively connoted term. What they have asked is problems. What I'm just trying to tell you through this question is, no matter how positively connoted the concept is, always be prepared with the counter argument. Okay, I'll give you an example. Is child labor a positive or a negative concept? Are you sure about it? Doubt nahi rakhna mind mein. It is a negative concept, hands down. ठीक है? If I say abolish child labor, is it a positive concept or a negative concept? Positive, abolishing child labor. My question is, what are the negative consequences of abolishing child labor? नहीं, answer नहीं पूछ रही, but did you get my point? What I'm trying to say? Write down the first question. रफ में लिखो. I know somebody would be thinking, ये child labor पढ़ाया नहीं, मैम ने सवाल क्यों दिया? जवाब देती हूँ. पहले दे लेने दो. देखो यार, दिए हैं 10 से 12 लेक्चर, सोसाइटी है बहुत बड़ा, इंपॉर्टेंट एरिया है, क्वेश्चन आना है, और मुझे तो ट्रेंड भी मेंटेन करना है, दैट एवरीथिंग इज आस्क्ड फ्रॉम द क्लास. सो व्हाट वी आर गोइंग टू डू इज वी आर गोइंग टू स्टडी पैरेलली. One, I will teach, I'll ask the question. There would be certain areas which I think is important. I will be giving you the questions and we'll discuss the answers in the class. But specifically, we will not be discussing the topic. So that parallelly, we are covering more areas. Is that very clear? Will that work with everyone? Okay, so parallel coverage chalegi. You will cover more areas in less time. Write down the question. Discuss the negative consequences. Discuss the negative consequences of abolishing child labor in India. Discuss the negative consequences of abolishing child labor in India. Ten marker. Only for this class, I am giving you 1 day's time. Tomorrow we don't have class. We'll be meeting day after. For only this lecture, I'm giving you 1 day's time because I just want some of you to brainstorm for some time. Otherwise, every question we'll discuss the very same day. Is that clear? Since this is the first lecture, you also need to get into the groove of it. अभी पूछ लूंगी तो 2-4 लोग जवाब देंगे, बाकी बैठे रहेंगे. ठीक है? सोच के आना. What can be written here? ठीक है? Google करने से पहले थोड़ा सोचना. उसका reason I'll tell you why. We underestimate our awareness. You actually are aware. You just need to give yourself 5 minutes. You will find some or the other points. Is that very clear for everyone? Okay. Next, read the third question. Critically examine the effect of globalization on aged population. Direct question hai. I told you if you prepare that diagram, you will be able to answer. Read the first question. How does patriarchy impacts the position of middle class working women? Can you see the irony in the question? Middle class is supposedly the educated class, right? And if women is working, that means we are assuming she is empowered. That is why she is working. But the question asked is impact of patriarchy on middle class working women. That means both the notions are getting challenged. Education does not mean that patriarchy has ended. There is a difference between literacy and education. There is a difference between education and value-based education. So what you and me are getting is only education. Values are missing. Okay? So that is the need of the hour. Achha, how many of you have studied moral science, moral studies in their school? है ना? मेरे यहाँ भी होता था एक पीरियड, फ्री पीरियड होता था. टीचर भी हैप्पी गो लकी, वी आर ऑल्सो हैप्पी गो लकी. हम वो गेम्स खेलते रहते थे. आपके टाइम पे पता नहीं कौन से, मेरे टाइम पे वो फ्लेम्स चलते थे, पता नहीं क्या क्या. आप लोग कुछ और खेलते होगे, बट हम अच्छा ये एग्जांपल गलत दे दिया, ये नहीं देना था. फ्लेम्स वो कुछ चलता था. ठीक है, एनिमल प्लेस थिंग, वो जो भी. हाँ, सो वी यूज्ड टू प्ले. हाँ, ये ठीक है. फ्लेम सोच के तुम जज करोगे मुझे, बट आई एम जनरली सेइंग कि दीज आर द पार्ट ऑफ द things. So the point here is education and value based education. There is a difference, and it is being said education without values is no education at all. So that has to be reflected in your answer. That see the irony, middle class, supposedly the educated class, supposedly the class having access to modern value system, having access to technology, yet they are practicing patriarchy. We believe the day we'll give the opportunity to women to work outside, she will be automatically empowered, but that has not happened. Is that very clear? I'll give you an example, an anecdote to make you understand this question better. Have you heard of Indra Nui? Okay. So it so happened once in her life, she said this in her own interview. Many of you might have heard that also. The anecdote where the Indra Nui was promoted to the post of president and she was made a part of board of directors. She was extremely happy. She came back home. She wanted to share this piece of information with her family members. The moment she entered the home, her mother said, wait, Indra, for tomorrow's breakfast, we don't have bread and butter. Can you go to the market and fetch it? Obviously, she was reluctant initially. 9 baj rahe the raat mein. She was tired. She wanted to share this news. But then she said it's okay. She went to the market. She fetched both bread and butter. So then she asked her mother casually, why didn't you ask the domestic helper? So she said, by the time I realized, the helper had already left. Then she was just looking around and she saw her husband very conveniently sitting on the couch, fiddling with the television. So then she asked, when did he come? Well, he to came long back. So then she got irritated. She's like, yaar, ye kya hai? I have such an important information to share with you. I have been promoted to the post of president of PepsiCo at that point of time. It was a great achievement for a woman in a patriarchal society. The mother with a blank face said, listen, Indra, I don't care whether you have been promoted to president or not. The day you entered the house, the domestic chores are your responsibility. So when Indra Nui ko nahi hua patriarchy ka, wo to hum aur aap kya cheez hai? Are you getting my point, what I'm trying to say? When I'm quoting such anecdotes, you need to remember, you can write these answers in your essay. अब ये मैं dictate नहीं कराऊंगी, कहानी सुन ली है ना, जाके गूगल कर लेना, बट मैं एक आइडिया दे रही हूं कि these anecdotes can form the beginning of your essay. Is that very clear? Is it making sense? Can we proceed? Next, read the second question. Why do some of the most prosperous regions of India has an adverse sex ratio? I'll tell you the reason why I'm mentioning this question. The reason why I'm mentioning this question is lot many students come to me to ask how to prepare the data. Reports hoti hai na, how to prepare the data. Currently we have National Family Health Survey report number 5. You will realize UPSC is not concerned with the data. UPSC is concerned with the reason behind the data. Census report gave the data that prosperous regions have adverse sex ratio. Okay, sex ratio matlab number of females per 1,000 males. Adverse matlab less number of females per 1,000 males. So this was the question which was asked. UPSC did not ask what is the sex ratio. UPSC asked why prosperous regions have adverse sex ratio. Did you get my point? So whenever you see an important data, give yourself 5 minutes and try to understand the cause behind the data, and also 5 minutes to understand the implication of that data. They might ask you, what is the implication of skewed sex ratio in India? Can we have this question? That can be a possible question. Now just wait. The very next year, read the third question. The very next year, they asked this question. How do you explain the statistics that shows sex ratio in tribes in India is more favorable to women as compared to sex ratio among scheduled caste? By census ki report aayi thi. The report said, just a sec. The report said that among scheduled caste, the sex ratio is you have 945 women per 1,000 males. Among scheduled tribes, it is 990 per 1,000 males. This was what the report said. UPSC asked, why? So UPSC is not interested in the data. UPSC is interested in why. For example, अब हम based on what we have discussed or mentioned, let's predict कि क्या हो सकता है. You have a recent report which says sex ratio has improved for women and it has exceeded the number of men. However, sex ratio at birth is still a problem because it is. Can you have a question? Explain this paradox. So based on what UPSC has already asked, we just need to visit that how or what kind of questions can be asked tomorrow. Is that very clear? This is how it works. This is what is trend analysis. Are you getting my point? Write down this question. We'll be brainstorming on this question. Write down the question. Explain the paradox. Explain the paradox where on one hand sex ratio has improved ब्रैकेट में लिख दो 1020 per 1000 males. Whereas on the other hand, sex ratio at birth is still a matter of concern. Sex ratio at birth is still a matter of concern. Bracket में 929 per 1000 males. Naturally कहते हैं that sex ratio at birth should be 952. This is natural. Naturally, biologically, statistically, it says it should be 952 per 1000 males. But currently what we have is 929. Whereas on the other hand, sex ratio has become favorable for women. Explain this paradox. ये कैसे हो रहा है? I'm giving you 5 minutes. Do you want to brainstorm? सोचेंगे 2-4 पॉइंट्स देंगे, ठीक है? बाय द टाइम मैं ऑनलाइन स्टूडेंट से बात कर लूं, वो थोड़े खफा बैठे, ठीक है? आप सोचिए, आई विल चिट चैट विद देम. यार गाइज, पहली 2-3 चीजें, कैमरामैन अभी भी एक्टिव नहीं हुए हैं, कैमरा स्टेशनड है एक जगह, ठीक है? सो आई ओनली हैव टू मूव. एवरी डे द क्लासरूम चेंजेस, सो आई ऑल्सो नीड सम टाइम टू गेट habituated to the setup. That is the thing. Third thing is, एक जगह खड़े होके पढ़ाया नहीं जाता, फील नहीं आती है, तो वो थोड़ा तो मूवमेंट चलेगा. इफ आई स्टैंड एट वन प्लेस, मुझे ऐसा लगता है मेरा दिमाग रुक गया है. सो आई ऑल्सो नीड टू मूव. तो थोड़ा सा आई विल बी मूविंग आउटसाइड द कैमरा एंड आई रियली अपोलोजाइज फॉर दैट. आई विल ट्राई, बट गिव मी सम टाइम टू चेंज दिस हैबिट, ठीक है? और ऐसा नहीं है यार, तुम लोग को मैं बिल्कुल नहीं भूली हूं, बट मेरा सोचो ना कि क्लास में 400 बच्चे ऑनलाइन, थोड़ा तो, ठीक है? सो गिव मी सम टाइम टू गेट हैंग ऑफ इट, ठीक है? चलो ब्रेनस्टॉर्म ऑन दिस. एब्सोल्युटली, यस, यस. Life expectancy among women has increased as compared to men. Absolutely. Within old age bracket, that is above 60, the sex ratio is there is feminization of old age. I'll explain the topic later. But yes, one point is correct, that life expectancy among women is more as compared to men. That is also one of the reason why sex ratio has improved. Anything else? Somebody said about the medical advancement. See, one of the reason why sex ratio initially was less, because of very high maternal mortality rate. Maternal mortality rate matlab the women dying because of pregnancy related complication. But now the medical advancement has taken place. Government is also taking lot of efforts. There are 3 set of efforts which government is making. ये सब current affairs है. This is nothing to do with the conceptual understanding. So I am targeting the parallel aspect of the class. So it says that during pregnancy there is a scheme. If you have heard of it, Pradhan Mantri Surakshit Matritva Abhiyan. It is antenatal care. Matlab during pregnancy, women is provided the care. Then institutional delivery, Janani Suraksha Yojana. Then post-delivery, Janani Sishu Suraksha Karikram. So these efforts government is taking. So medical infrastructure is improving. Automatically, maternal mortality rate is declining. Is that very clear? Anything else? Women empowerment. Women is becoming more aware about her rights. She is becoming more assertive about her rights. Brilliant. Anything else? Late marriage. Absolutely. The median age of marriage has increased. Now it is 22.3. It has already increased. Government की report आई थी 2 साल पहले. It said the average age of marriage both for boys and girls have increased. Now it is 22.3. Obviously there is delay in the marriage. There would be delay in pregnancy. So automatically pregnancy related complications will decline. So automatically sex ratio will improve. Is it making sense for everyone? Most importantly, government's intervention to ensure safety and security of women. So that is also one of the reasons women is surviving more. Is it making sense for everyone? But despite that, when sex ratio at birth क्यों अभी भी कम है? Absolutely. You need to understand, we are going for small family, but within that small family, we still want a boy child. Exactly, sex selective abortion. And if you belong to a prosperous area, if you are belonging to an educated community without values, so the thing is that you have better access to technology to misuse them. And because of which people are going for sex selective abortion. Is that very clear? Is it making sense? So female, the child or sex selective abortion कह लो, feticide कह लो, या फिर the mindset, mentality is still governed by patriarchal mindset. Economic survey of 2017-18 had made a claim that child sex ratio or sex ratio at birth is less. The reason is patrilineality, patrilocality, and the right of women in the inheritance property of the family. I have made a statement, just try to relate to it. कुछ शब्द बोले हैं मैंने, हम डिस्कस करेंगे नेक्स्ट क्लास में, but just a reference. Patrilocality, okay, I'll make it simple. After marriage, women goes to husband's place. That is patrilocality. There are some exceptions to it in certain community, but largely it happens this way. Is everybody agreeing at the back also? Okay, so that is patrilocality. Patrilineality matlab you are tracing your lineage from your father's side. That is what is referred as patrilineality. So everyone wants a boy child. Otherwise, who will carry forward your lineage? Are you getting the point? As if pata nahi hum kaun se usko belong karte hain that we have to carry forward our lineage. Is that making sense for everyone? Okay, so everybody is obsessed with having a boy child. Who is going to lit your funeral pyre if you don't have a boy? Who will be your social support system if you do not have a boy? So because of this mindset, even if you want a small family, within that small family, you want a boy child. This is the reason why child sex ratio at birth is less. Is it making sense for everyone? There is a reason. The reason is the heterogeneous nature. Good question. He says that everybody has heard. I'll just repeat it for the online people. He's saying that class is not a salient feature because it is existing in other societies. Then why patriarchy is considered as a salient feature? The reason is we are a heterogeneous society, right? So patriarchy is a common aspect, but the manner in which patriarchy is practiced is very different. For example, the manner patriarchy is practiced among Brahmins would be different from Dalits, would be different from Hindus, would be different from Sikh, would be different from tribals. Are you getting the point? It would be different in upper class, it would be different in lower class. Every community within Indian society, patriarchy is there. But the manner in which it is being practiced is very different. For example, upper class might not want their women to go outside and work because they are not in the need of money. So they will ask their women to sit at home. But lower class can't do that. How will you sustain a family? You would have to allow your women to go outside and work. But that doesn't mean that lower class mein patriarchy nahi hoti. What is drunken abuse? Domestic violence? Are you getting my point? So patriarchy is a salient feature because the manner in which it is practiced is very different. It is very heterogeneous. Is that clear for everyone? Is it making sense? Okay. Did you get the answer to the question which was given? Can you write a 10 marker answer on this? Is everybody clear on this? Okay. Can we proceed? Last question dekho. Discuss positive negative effect of globalization on women. Direct question hai. पढ़ेंगे तो हो जाएगा. Okay, I wanted you to read this. Read the third question. Sorry. Read the third question. Why are tribals in India referred to as scheduled tribes? That's not my concern. Read the second part. Indicate the major provisions enshrined in the constitution for their upliftment. Why am I making this question or why I'm bringing this question to your attention? We have an understanding that whenever you are preparing for prelims, only then those articles, provisions are the need of the hour. But do you realize they're actually asking you proper provisions and articles in your mains? Can you answer this question without mentioning the articles? You will not fetch marks. You have to write which article stands for what. Is it making sense for everyone? I'll give you an example. एक second. आर्टिकल्स अच्छे से तैयार करने हैं, बता देती हूं कैसे करने, एक एग्जांपल देके. जैसे सपोज करो ट्राइबल्स है, I'm just giving you an example. You have read your articles of the Constitution. Article 366 and 342 talks about the definition. Article 15, 16, 46, 335 talks about educational and economic interest. Article 330, 332, 243D, 243D talks about political empowerment. With respect to administrative governance, it is 5th and the 6th schedule. With respect to cultural uniqueness, you have Article 29, which is the agency which will make sure that all these things are properly implemented or not. You have National Commission for Scheduled Tribes under Article 338A. Is it making sense? This is how you have to prepare. So whenever you are preparing your polity, whenever you are preparing your articles, just give yourself some time and try to create this kind of table. Easy हो जाता है to remember. Clear है? याद भी सब आ जाएंगे. There would not be a single article which will be left. और ये पहले से करके रखना, एग्जाम में याद नहीं आता है. ठीक है? Now are you understanding the purpose why we are taking up previous year questions? Just to give you an idea that how the preparation should be done. See? Can I proceed? Read the third question. There is a reason why I'm mentioning this question. Read the third question. The spirit of tolerance and love is not only an interesting feature of Indian society from very early times, but it is also playing an important part at the present. And the term is elaborate. Do you realize that there is no scope of writing about intolerance in this answer? Because the tail word is elaborate. Elaborate says you do not have to pass any value judgment. You are not going to give any counter argument. Whatever statement is given to you, you will assume that statement to be true and you have to justify that statement. So हम start हो जाएंगे ancient India से. Ancient India, medieval India, modern India, post-independence India and current contemporary India. Give 5 examples where you can see love and tolerance. 10 marker answer is ready. What if the question would have been comment? Critically analyze, discuss, counter argument was required. So tail words are very important that decides the structure of your content. If you are writing about intolerance, even a single word in this answer, that answer is absolutely wrong. Because the tail word is elaborate, you don't have to give the counter argument. Is that very clear? Every question, please, आपकी वो tail words की class हो गई होगी. You have, हो गई है यार. अरे क्या बात करो, पहले ही हम करा लेते हैं यार वो डिस्कस, क्रिटिकली एनालाइज. Read the second question. No comments. The matter is sub judice. We will look into it later. But the point is, okay, everybody is entitled to their opinion. I genuinely believe tail words matter a lot. Then it is absolutely fine. Then it is absolutely fine. See, देखो, the interpretation and the comprehension of the arguments is very important. इंसान बोलता कुछ है और इंसान समझता कुछ और है. There is a difference in. खुद सोचो, जब ये सब कुछ पढ़ोगे ही नहीं तो समझ कैसे आएगा कि टेल वर्ड यूज कैसे करना है. अब रिस्पेक्टिव क्लासेस में जो भी कर रहे हो, ट्राई टू यूज द टेल वर्ड अकॉर्डिंग टू देयर मीनिंग. सो वील डू वन थिंग. व्हेनेवर आई एम टेकिंग अ यूपीएससी क्वेश्चन, आई विल डिस्कस इट अलोंग विद द टेल वर्ड. सो यू विल गेट एन आइडिया हाउ टू राइट और हाउ टू मेक यूज ऑफ द टेल वर्ड. सेकेंड क्वेश्चन. Globalization is generally said to promote cultural homogenization, but due to this, cultural specificities appears to be strengthened in the Indian society. यही हमने बात करी थी. Homogenization, hybridization and revival of local culture. ऐसे ही क्वेश्चन बनता है that it is leading to homogenization, but at the same time cultural specificities are getting strengthened. मतलब hybridization and revival of local culture is taking place. Now wait. Read the last question. Are we losing our local identity for the global identity? Discuss. Is the answer, are we losing our local identity for the global identity? Discuss. Is the answer same? Are we losing our local identity? Yes, homogenization is happening. Are we losing our local identity? No, we are not losing it. Why? Hybridization and revival of local culture. The same, the very next year this question was asked. Okay, now wait. Read the fourth question. Is diversity and pluralism in India under threat due to globalization? Justify your answer. Is the answer same? Yes. It is under threat, homogenization. It is not under threat, hybridization and revival of local culture. But every time you should have a considerable amount of examples to justify your answer. Is that very clear for everyone? Do I need to see anything else? See, COVID-19 was an expected question. Digital initiatives was an expected question because it was current based. So very expected questions. Rest all the answers or the questions I will discuss. Jaise ab caste hai. In your third lecture, I'll discuss all the questions related to caste. Today, if we get time, then it is fine. Otherwise, the next class we'll start with family. So there was a question on family. I'll discuss it along with the topics when I am teaching. Okay? Is this clear? 2021 का paper I had to show you. एक second रुकना यार बस. But before we get down to 2021 का paper, just have a look at this. वो होता है ना what needs to be studied. So this is just the formality. So if you ask me honestly what needs to be studied, then I can say that there are 2 NCRTs of class 12th. So study that. And ideally don't study as of now because it might happen that they would be using certain terminologies which we might not be able to comprehend. Let me finish with the lectures, then you can read. It would be an easy thing for you to read. That's one thing. Second doubt, that are we supposed to read the printed material which is provided? No, you don't. You don't have to read the printed material which would be provided. उसका reason simple है. It is being made by me only. So कोई point नहीं है. मुझे पता है उसमें क्या है. ठीक है. So the point नहीं यार 2 साल पहले बनाया था. उसमें बहुत सारे updation करने होते हैं. The nature of the content is undergoing a change. So every time you deliver, that's more for those students who don't have access to classroom program. So if you have access to classroom program, do not give your time on that. Instead, if you are interested in studying, please read the content. As in, please read the current affairs. Please read your newspapers well. Try to prepare good quality content from your newspaper and just don't blindly rely on the current affair material. I'll tell you why. ऐसा नहीं है कि current affair material is made very nicely, very comprehensive. But do you realize that जैसे अभी incident हुआ, there was one person who said something. The different people might have interpreted it differently. And one person has mentioned their perspective. So what you get in the current affair material is written from someone's perspective. But when you read the newspaper, you are at least getting first-hand information. Obviously, that is also a secondary source, but at least you are getting some direct connect with the content. Maybe I have interpreted the newspaper content in a very different manner. Are you getting the point? So I don't want you to make very specific notes, 2-3 hours on newspaper. ऐसा नहीं करना है. But if you come across a good article, try to extract content which can be relevant from the examination point of view. That is all what is required. If you're very interested in studying, only 2 NCRTs of class 12th, Indian Society and Social Change and Development. There are 2 NCRTs. That's it. Nothing else is required. Is that clear? एक चीज बस देख लेते हैं लास्ट ईयर का पेपर. ओके, डू यू गाइज हैव एक्सेस टू द टेलीग्राम चैनल? Okay, I have a Telegram channel on which I have uploaded these content. As in, for past 2 years, I am preparing the handwritten. क्योंकि उससे पहले क्या होता था, हम orally discuss कर लेते थे. Many a time students don't used to get or don't used to remember some months down the line what answer has to be written. So from past to 2020 onwards, I am preparing handwritten answers to every UPSC question asked from my areas. So whether it is ethics, social justice or society, you will get access to all that content on the Telegram channel. You can refer that. Then similarly, with respect to all the handwritten notes, with respect to current affairs, with respect to PT, Mains 365, essay, everything would be available on that Telegram channel. So you can refer that. Is that clear for everyone? ठीक है. एक बार channel, अच्छा हाँ, वो मैं देख रही. Just search this Smriti Shah. Vision IAS, this underscore Vision IAS, this would be there. Smriti Shah underscore Vision IAS. If you search by this, I think you will get. जल्दी से इस साल का पेपर देखते, then we'll start. क्या 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 आएगा एग्जैक्ट लिंक चाहिए तो वो प्लीज अपलोड करा देना, आई गिव यू द लिंक. इतना मेरे को नहीं याद रहता, कंटेंट बनाऊं या ये सब देखूं. आएगा यार, ऐसे कैसे नहीं आएगा. टेलीग्राम पे जाओ, डालो स्मृतिशा. अरे ढूंढ लेना ना, मिल जाएगा. ठीक है, उस पे कंटेंट है, देख लेना. अच्छा एक बात है, सिर्फ ज्वाइन करने के लिए नहीं ज्वाइन करना, कंटेंट पढ़ना. ठीक है, दैट इज द मेन ऑब्जेक्टिव. कहां गए हम. अब देखो जल्दी से, इस बार का पेपर था रोल ऑफ गिग इकोनॉमी इन द प्रोसेस ऑफ एम्पावरमेंट ऑफ विमेन इन इंडिया. जस्ट होल्ड ऑन. This time again the paper was very current specific. See, the idea behind discussing previous year question is just to tell you that ये नहीं कह सकते static portion से society आता है, ये नहीं कह सकते कि current से आता है. It is a blend of two. This was an expected question. Gig economy was in news because of COVID, and specifically gig economy में women's participation has increased because of the convenience of work. So role of gig economy in the process of empowerment of women. It has created potential for empowerment, but it has its own challenges which needs to be addressed. Is that clear? This was an expected question. The answer is clearly given. ये सब देख लेना, और ये इसीलिए बनाए जाते हैं diagrams, just to give you an idea that these model hub and spoke kind of diagram representation, it has to be used while writing answer. ठीक है? Just one thing. When I give the answer, I give a very detailed answer. Obviously, it would not be 150 words or 200 words. It will be a detailed answer because there is no guarantee that the question would be repeated. But I'll give you enough content that if something else is asked, you can use that content to write something else. Is that very clear? So that is the idea. So you will not get वो 150 words सोच के मत आना और फिर ये नहीं कहना मैम 500 वर्ड का आंसर था. तो यार 150 दूंगी तो क्या याद रखोगे और क्या लिखोगे. 500 दूंगी तो कम से कम 150 तो याद रखोगे. बहुत मेहनत से बनाए हैं, बहुत छांट के बनाए हैं, तुम्हारा काम आसान किया है. पढ़ लेना यार, बस पढ़ लेना. ठीक है, दूसरा देख लो यार. What are the main socio-economic implications arising out of development of IT industries in major cities? Remember that urbanization वाला topic? Urbanization की problems क्या है? So these are the problems. That is the question. Socio-economic implications arising out of development of IT industries. There are positive implications which are quite obvious, but there are a lot of negative implications that also needs to be addressed. So ये रहे पॉजिटिव, ये रहे नेगेटिव. ये पढ़ लेना जब टाइम मिलेगा. ठीक है, और ये रहा कंक्लूजन. हर आंसर में 4 चीजें देखने को मिलेंगी. एक इंट्रोडक्शन, लिंकिंग पैरा, बॉडी एंड कंक्लूजन. क्लियर है? How Indian society maintains the continuity in traditional social values, enumerate changes taking place in it. ये क्वेश्चन पे एक्चुअली मुझे आना था. Remember one of the salient feature I said we are in the process of transition, है ना, where it is a blend of tradition plus modernity. Is it the exact question? How India is able to maintain continuity in their traditional values. That means the traditional values are still continuing, but the next line is enumerate the changes which are taking place. And enumerate का मतलब होता है only listing. You don't have to analyze that why those changes are taking place. You only have to list what changes are taking place. Is it making sense? Again, this was the expected question. Remember, there was a lot of news about population. There has to be a population policy because last time the population policy came in 2000. After that, we did not have any population policy. Then the states, the government were also talking about controlling the population. Right? UP has come up with a specific policy also for that. So again, this was a very expected question. It wasn't current news. So what are the main objectives of population education, and point out the measures to achieve them in India in detail. Clear? So when we are discussing population and associated issues, the topic would be there. This was not expected in this paper. This was an expected question, but this was expected in paper 3. Now tell me something. Today you have to give GS paper 1 and 2. Tomorrow you have to give 3 and 4. Will you say, nahi, aaj to main economy ke mood se aaya hi nahi. I will not write any answer which is asked from economic perspective because that paper has to happen tomorrow. ऐसा तो नहीं करेंगे ना, कल ही तो देना है, तो इतना तो याद होगा ही ना. ये यूपीएससी कभी कभी झोल कर देता है, पेपर 2 का पेपर 3 में, पेपर 3 का पेपर 1 में. तो दिस इज अ वेरी कॉमन ट्रेंड. सो यू शुड नॉट गेट बैफल्ड बाय दिस. ऐसा नहीं कि यार क्रिप्टो करेंसी तो पढ़ी थी बट सोसाइटी के पर्सपेक्टिव से नहीं पढ़ी थी. कोई पर्सपेक्टिव नहीं है. नॉर्मल क्वेश्चन है, क्रिप्टो करेंसी के बारे में पूछा है, हैज इट अफेक्टेड इंडियन सोसाइटी, तो आसपास देख लो क्या हो रहा है क्रिप्टो करेंसी, वही आंसर है. तो ज्यादा दिमाग नहीं देना एग्जाम में कि नहीं यूपीएससी ने पूछा होगा. दया कुछ तो चक्कर है. देयर हैज टू बी समथिंग बिहाइंड दिस. यूपीएससी कांट आस्क लोकल. यार आई एम टेलिंग यू माई ओन एक्सपीरियंस. आई मेस्ड अप माई अटेम्प्ट्स जस्ट बिकॉज आई यूज्ड टू ओवर एस्टिमेट यूपीएससी. Many a times there used to be a simple question and I used to unnecessarily think, nahi, UPSC cannot ask this simple question. There is some catch. And I used to find a random catch in that and I used to feel proud of it. Nobody must have thought about it. It is only me who has identified this catch, and especially in prelims. And after the attempt, I realized catch was not required only. So the point, do not overthink. Sometimes UPSC is asking normal questions. Is that clear? The answer is there, and there is this again question we were talking about tribals की अभी हमने बात करी थी ना, that there one of the problem is the uniqueness of the tribal knowledge system is getting disrupted because of the mainstream knowledge and idea. Question was there. Is that very clear? So static was also there, current was also there, application was also there. So are you getting the idea that it is a blend of all sort of questions? If we are prepared with the right kind of approach, we will manage. And trust me, again, I'll reiterate, many a times you will get a question which you have not studied. Do you know that 20 questions are there? है ना? There would be 7-8 questions which you have never studied. That's very normal. Don't get panic. वो नॉर्मल स्टोरी होती है. और उस 7-8 क्वेश्चन में 3-4 क्वेश्चंस वुड बी देयर यू हैव नेवर हर्ड ऑफ इट, बट स्टिल वी विल ऑलवेज आस्क यू टू कंप्लीट द पेपर. Presence of mind is required. I'll just share a brief anecdote since it is a first introductory lecture. So there is this one friend of mine. I will be introducing that character in every respective class just to give you an idea that how we are supposed to go about it. A very dear friend. Just a disclaimer, she was a very average student. A 45% holder, ठीक है, and I was the gold medalist and 90%, नहीं, nothing boasting, अभी तुम्हें सच्चाई पता चलेगी आगे. So the thing is that she was a 45% holder, I was from LSR, Stephens, gold medalist, blah blah blah. So obviously I was in my own aura, in my own tashan type, that ये exam क्या है, first attempt, clear, because that is the only challenge which is left to be achieved. बहुत tashan था, पहला attempt हुआ, mains था, and both of us were writing. Just one thing, I was a maths graduate and postgraduate and she was from economics, right? So there was a question which was asked. मेरे टाइम पे थोड़े ऐसे क्वेश्चन आते थे, the difference between repo rate and reverse repo rate, और उस टाइम पे 12 नंबर का क्वेश्चन था, ये ठलुआ क्वेश्चन. मैं भूल गई. I didn't remember what is the difference between repo rate and reverse repo rate because I can't expect na UPSC asking such question in mains. So I didn't revise and I forgot. But the problem was not that. Problem was that my friend was sitting 2 seats behind me and I knew that she would be knowing the answer. Economics में postgraduate from Delhi School of Economics, तो no matter she was an average student, she would remember the answer and I panicked. तो कहते हैं ना कि जब दोस्त फेल होता है बुरा लगता है, लेकिन अगर उसकी उम्मीद होती है टॉप करने की तो बहुत बुरा लग रहा होता है. सो आई वॉज नॉट पैनिकिंग. अरे एक 12 नंबर का क्वेश्चन था यार, आउट ऑफ 300. आई कुड हैव इजीली लेफ्ट एंड मूव अहेड. I froze. I panicked literally that I don't know 12 marks answer. Now she has already moved ahead of me by 12 marks. So this happened and after that तो we know the result. Remains clear, nahi hua. So then she met me after the exam and she's like, Smriti, what went wrong with you? I saw that after a certain point you stopped writing. Then I told her, yeah, you would not believe what happened, this and that. She's like, kya ho gaya yaar? I said, yeah, you know that silly question, repo rate and reverse repo rate. I forgot. She's like, do you what? I also forgot. I was like, are you kidding me? I was like, नहीं नाम नहीं लेना. I was like, देखो टेंशन नहीं हुई, reverse repo rate and you know, economics postgraduate and you forgot. She's like, jab economics postgraduate from Delhi school doesn't remember, what an average crowd would be remembering. It's all about attitude. That even if you don't know, you don't need to panic. And the result is average student cleared the exam in the very first attempt, and so-called gold medalist could not clear the exam after so many attempts. So the point here is, what is required is right kind of attitude. This is not some graduation exam where you can remember everything that you have studied. You can't even finish the syllabus also. If somebody claims that I've finished the syllabus, hogwash, nobody. So the point here is, have right kind of mindset, have right kind of confidence. Is that very clear? Let's officially start now. One short information, small thing. I don't give break. Usually I don't have a tendency of teaching 3 hours. I don't teach 3 hours also. I teach for 2.5 hours. And I don't give break. That's the only thing. ठीक है, क्या करोगे यार, 8 बजे तक बैठ के टाइम से घर जाओ, टाइम से खाना वाना खाओ और रिलैक्स करो. Is it clear for everyone? Will that work? ठीक है. आज तो I will leave you early only because there's just one small thing which I have to finish, because officially I'll be starting with the next lecture. But just a piece of request. I usually don't give break. Anybody who wants break, break ही break है यार. मैं कौन सा मना करने वाली हूँ, जब मनो उठ के जाओ. Is that very clear? So don't expect break. और मैं 2.5 घंटे में छोड़ दूंगी. तो मेरे को भी पता है टेंशन स्पैन कम होता है, और खाना पीना भी खाना है तो ऐसे घबराना नहीं, आराम से खुल के खाओ. बस कच 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 आवाज नहीं करना, बाकी खा लो. देखो यार, इतना जिसको बात भी करनी है और कुछ भी बातें करनी है, खिल्ली उड़ानी, जो भी करना है, बस ऐसे करना मुझ तक नहीं पहुंचे. तो वो कच 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 वो सब नहीं, आपस में जो बात जो करने करो. I'll just read it out. Society, concept, basic attributes of, just a sec guys, basic attributes of society. Do not write Indian society, just write basic attributes. Basic attributes of society. Impact of British rule on Indian society and salient features of Indian society. The first topic which I'll be starting in the next class is joint family. So this would be the chronology of topics: joint family, followed by caste system, patriarchy, diversity, and so on. Let us consider that this is the society that we have, right? Some sound issue or what? Mansi, कोई sound issue है क्या? Just check ना. So let us assume that this is the society that we have, right? So we have individuals in the society. Now, do you agree that we all are social animals? We cannot live in isolation. We have a tendency to interact with each other. Okay? So there is some element of interaction which is happening among the individuals. Now, do you realize that the interaction is not haphazard? There has to be a pattern to the interaction. Okay? So the interaction would not be haphazard. There has to be some pattern of interaction. For example, let us assume this classroom, right? So if you guys are interacting among each other, there will be a pattern of interaction. Randomly तो नहीं interact कर रहे होगे ना, कुछ सोच के ही बात कर रहे हो. In any which capacity. Now, based on that patterns of interaction, slowly and gradually, we tend to develop a social relationship with each other. Maybe the relationship is co-aspirant. Maybe the relationship is competitiveness. Maybe the relationship with teacher and student. Maybe some other relationship. Right? So the point here is that आप गलत सोच रहे, मैंने सिर्फ normally बोला था. But then that is also very normal and natural. It's okay. So it's bound to happen. In fact, offline classes की तो बात ही वही थी, मतलब. नहीं. We are studious people. Let's focus. So pattern of interaction will give rise to social relationship. Now, is this the only relationship that you have? No. There are different, but you have your family, we have our parents, we have our siblings, okay? So then that means there is a network. So can I say network of social relationship based on pattern of interaction between the individual members is known as society? Is it clear for everyone? Write down the concept. The network of social relationships, the network of social relationships, the network of social relationships based on the pattern of interaction, based on the pattern of interaction among the individual members, based on the pattern of interaction among the individual members is referred as society. Is referred as society. Is it clear? Now listen. These are basic attributes. Attributes matlab characteristic features of any society. It says for any society to be a society, it needs to have a definite territory. Within that, the source of membership is progeny. Progeny means reproduction. Now, how do you become a member of society? By being born in that society. So, progeny is reproduction. I am not saying there cannot be other sources. For example, adoption. For example, immigration. That can be there. But the most prominent source of membership of any society is being born in that society. That is progeny, right? Third aspect is common culture. And fourth is that society has an independent existence. Sovereignty. Is that clear? So based on these four characteristic attributes, can I say Indian society is a society? We do not have a common culture. So can I say that Indian society is an amalgamation of multiple societies? Can we say this? Based on the four basic attributes, based on the four basic attributes, based on the four basic attributes, Indian society can be considered as amalgamation of multiple societies. Can be considered as amalgamation of multiple societies. Amalgamation of multiple societies. Because we do not have a common culture. Is that very clear for everyone? Now, see, do you agree with the fact that no society remains static for all time to come? Every society is undergoing a change. Okay. Now, to bring about the changes, you have forces of changes. Now, some forces can emerge from within the system. Some forces can emerge from outside the system. For example, if we take example of Indian society, Buddhism, Jainism, socio-religious reform movements, they have emerged from within the system and they have had impact on the Indian society. Similarly, can I say British rule has emerged from outside the system and it also had the impact on Indian society. Rest of the topics we are not covering because that is already covered in your ancient medieval India or art and culture. Even the impact of British rule is also covered. But the thing is that I have to take my discussion from the society that you witness today. So for that, I have to give you a brief reference of what have happened in the past. Is that clear? So I am giving you a diagrammatic representation to explain the impact of British rule on Indian society because this will form the basis of our further interaction. Is that clear? Make this diagram. Give the heading impact of British rule on Indian society. I'll just read it out what I've written on the screen. I've written tradition, forces of change, and modern. Tradition mein there are 5 points: ascriptive status, hierarchy, strong religious orientation, collectivism, and particularism. Just the opposite is written under modern: achievement orientation, egalitarianism, rationality, individualism, and universalism. Under forces of change, I have given 2 headings. One, social change and new social order. Social change में English language, secular education, printing technology, transport and communication. Social order में industrialization, urbanization, new indicators of social status, emergence of new elite class. Once you have made the diagram, please let me know. The 4 attributes is definite territory, progeny, common culture, and independence. Why I don't teach sociology optional? टाइम ही नहीं देते ये लोग. तो सोशियोलॉजी टेस्ट सीरीज तो आई डू टीच बिकॉज आई गेट टाइम फॉर दैट. ऑप्शनल का टाइम नहीं देते यार ये लोग. दैट इज द मेन रीजन. There's a lot of difference. I'll discuss everything. Just give me 5 minutes. ठीक है? It depends in the context we are talking about. Individualism and collectivism, we are talking with respect to the whose interest should be given primacy. And particularism is basically the relationships which matters. Just give me 5 minutes. We'll discuss that. Everybody has written? Let's start. Huh? Absolutely we can write, but the thing is, as and when we are moving ahead, you want to talk in context of spiritualism versus materialism. That's what you're talking about. See, the thing is that it depends in what context we have to take the discussion. That's all. That's all. Okay. Adding mein to you can add more points to it. For example, specific and diffused, that can be added. Emotion and affectiveness, that can be. So whether it is neutrality or affection which is there, तो लिखने को तो यार फिर बहुत points हो जाएंगे. ठीक है? So can we start? See, it is one disclaimer before we start with the discussion. You do not have to see things in black and white. ठीक है? If something is being written on 2 ends, does not mean that they are different from each other. But that does not mean that something is desirable and something is not desirable. That is not the debate. So that debate we are not having. And in fact, when you will study ethics, you will realize there is no one answer. Everything is very subjective. What kind of approach one needs to have, what kind of value system, how you need to implement your ethics, you will realize there is no one answer. Right? So it depends upon the situation. Similarly, do not categorize it into black and white, good or bad, positive or negative. Let's not do that. Okay? So let's start with the discussion. You will understand what I'm trying to say. The first thing I'm saying that there was certain characteristic feature of a traditional society. One of the characteristic feature was ascriptive status. Matlab, the status that you enjoy in the society is by birth. You have not done anything to achieve that status. For example, in a patriarchal society, the men enjoys a certain status, but they have not done anything to contribute to that status. By virtue of being a society which is patriarchal, the men has been accorded certain status in the society. As simple as that. So that is ascriptive, right? If you are born into a certain caste and you are enjoying a certain status in the society. You have not done anything to be born into that caste, right? But despite that, you are enjoying a certain status in the society. So the status that you enjoy by virtue of birth, that is ascriptive status. So whether it is on the basis of your caste, whether it is on the basis of your gender, that is referred as ascriptive status. So likhte jao side by side. I will not be dictating these points because it is just an explanation part. So ascriptive mein likhna, the status that we acquire by birth. The status that we acquire by birth. The status that we acquire by birth. Simple. However, just the contrary, achievement orientation. It says the status that you enjoy is based on your achievement. For example, how much education have you received? How much economic clout have you developed? How much political power that you have accessed? So based on your achievements in the society, if you are enjoying status, that is known as achievement orientation. Is that clear? एक term और use होता है इसके लिए. This is also referred as enjoying a सेक्युलर स्टेटस. सेक्युलर से मतलब यहां पे वो सेक्युलरिज्म वाला नहीं. सेक्युलर स्टेटस मतलब द स्टेटस ऑन द बेसिस ऑफ योर सोशल, इकोनॉमिक एंड पॉलिटिकल अचीवमेंट्स. सोशल, एजुकेशन, स्किल्स, political, the political power, and economic is the financial clout. Is that very clear? So if the term secular status is used, so here secular means socio-political economic status. Is that very clear for everyone? So achievement orientation is the status that you have acquired in the society based on your social, political, economic achievements. The status that you have acquired in the society based on your social, political, and economic achievements. Okay. Next, hierarchy. Simple words, isko kya hi likhoge? Hierarchy just means that people are arranged into different layers, which is placed one above the other. The layering can be based on any basis. It can be on the basis of class, it can be on the basis of caste, it can be on the basis of ethnicity, it can be on the basis of gender, it can be on the basis of race, right? So basically, when the individual or the communities are arranged into layers, one above the other, that is nothing but hierarchy. Just the opposite is egalitarianism. Is that very clear? So egalitarianism matlab everyone is on the same pedestal. Is it making sense for everyone? ये तो dictate नहीं करना ना. Hierarchy matlab arrangement of the people into layers placed one above the other. Is this clear? Next. Strong religious orientation. See, the traditional society is characterized on the basis of strong religious orientation, as in the religion is not only a matter of faith, it is a way of your life. So your social aspect, political, economic aspect, everything is governed by your religious beliefs and practices. Is that clear? So that is strong religious orientation. On the other hand, we have rationality, which simply says one thing, that is, everything has to be supported by fact, evidence, logic. That is just what rationality means. Everything which is supported by some or the other kind of evidence, fact, logic, that means the thing is rational. Is that clear? Okay. Now the point here is, strong religious orientation is not something which is wrong. It is a characteristic feature. Do you realize that sometimes these customs and traditions are very important? In the society, I'll repeat myself, these customs and traditions are very important in the society to ensure conformity. Conformity matlab everybody is abiding to certain norms. Second, एक तरह की uniformity create होती है. Is that clear? Third most important thing, it helps in checking deviance. Deviance matlab wrong activities. होता है ना, suppose there is an urge or somebody is forcing you to commit an act which is not right and you immediately think, नहीं, I cannot do this. This is not permitted by my religion. मेरा भगवान नाराज हो जाएगा. Are you getting my point? So there is always someone who keeps a check on your activities. So the customs, tradition, beliefs in religion helps in ensuring peace in the society. It helps in ensuring cohesion in the society. Is it very clear for everyone? You need to understand. For example, do you understand customs and traditions? Customs, which we believe is an accepted way of behaving and doing things. And when customs is transmitted from one generation to other generation, it becomes a tradition. Do you agree to this? There are certain customs and traditions which are very progressive. I'll give you few examples. You can have your own set of examples. Have you heard kya sunai? Langar, practice of langar. Hai na? That is there in Gurdwaras. It's a good custom. It's a good tradition which is being carried out. It actually provides food to majority of the people, right? It's a good thing. So, many of you might have heard about Makar Sankranti, right? Makar Sankranti mein there is a custom or a practice of donation. People donate. Again, it's a welfare thing, right? We do have a custom and tradition of celebrating festivals together. Do you realize it helps in ensuring cohesion, harmony in the society? It always tells you, every festival, if you look at it, in a way it is telling you the victory of good over evil. So it gives you an understanding that whatever, challenges that you confront in life, at the end of it, always the good which will triumph over bad or good over evil. So again, it is setting a good example. So customs and traditions are good. But sometimes there can be some customs and traditions which can be regressive, which can be discriminatory. For example, there is a custom in a community which is female genital mutilation. Female genital mutilation है दाऊदी बोरा community में, नहीं पता है Google करो जाकर, ठीक है? So female genital mutilation is a custom in a certain communities. It is considered as a regressive thing. Is that very clear? Similarly, there was a tradition, there was a custom, it was a religious practice, or it was approved by the religion also in their personal laws, that is triple talaq. But then it was wrong. It was discriminatory against women, so it was being abolished. So the point here is that in the name of modernity, you don't have to give up your customs and traditions. Only those customs and traditions which are regressive in nature. Is that very clear? Is this discussion making sense for everyone? Hold, just 1 minute. Customs and traditions suppress reason. Reason as in logic. Leading to obscurantism. English पे नहीं जाना. Obscurantism मतलब not deliberately withholding some fact. Obscure मतलब छुपाना. So deliberately obscuring मतलब छुपा रहे हैं. So you deliberately you are doing that. So that is obscurantism. ठीक है. Now again read the question. अब obscurantism का मतलब पता चला. अब देखो, और टेल वर्ड क्या है? Do you agree? That means your opinion is asked. So you have to give a balanced opinion. You will give both the set of arguments. Whatever we have discussed 2 minutes back. Isn't this the answer of this question? Custom and traditions suppress reason, leading to obscurantism. Do you agree? What is custom? What is tradition? Some do believe that customs and tradition, they lack reasoning. They lack scientific validation. And as a result, it deliberately withholds certain realities, right? And then you can give certain examples that where it is antagonistic to reasoning. For example, female genital mutilation. It's a custom, na? Corporal punishment to children to ensure discipline. जब तक दो पढ़ेंगे नहीं तब तक सीखेंगे नहीं. लातों के भूत बातों से नहीं मानते. Is that very clear? Custom है, tradition है, चलता आ रहा है. Custom is what? Something which is an accepted way of behaving. And when it is transmitted from generation to generation, it becomes a tradition. Simple. Is that making sense? So that is nothing but female genital mutilation, corporal punishment, or there are some societies where menstruating women are not allowed to enter the kitchen. Again, it is a custom. Is that very clear for everyone? Not everybody would agree to it, but there are certain people who are still following this custom because it has been existing over generation. Similarly, there is also a practice of fire walking in order to show your devotion to your god or deity, that there is that fire coal is there and then you have to walk over it barefoot, and if you do not get hurt, that shows the extent of your devotion, and if you get hurt, that means you are not very devoted. मतलब scientific logic तो नहीं दिख रहा है इसमें, with all due respect to the sentiments. Is that very clear for everyone? On the contrary, these customs and traditions can be very helpful as well. We have certain set of examples. Just one thing, structure remains the same. What changes is your set of examples. You can write any example that you want. Is that very clear? What matters at the end is you have a conclusion. Customs and tradition should not be treated as cast in stone. Cast in stone का मतलब होता है पत्थर की लकीर. अगर कोई चीज गलत हो रही है तो उसे चेंज करो. There is no harm in accepting if there is something wrong which is happening. It just needs to be changed. For example, women in the menstruating age group were not allowed to enter Sabrimala temple. The judgment came where they were allowed to enter because it was believed that it is not the right practice. Triple talaq was a tradition. It was being practiced over generation. Court find that it is not the right thing and instantaneous triple talaq needs to be declared null and void. They did that. There was a time when untouchability was practiced. It was a custom, it was a tradition, it was being happening. But then constitution, it was realized untouchability is wrong. Article 17 was introduced. Did you get my point? Is that very clear? So customs and tradition should not be treated as cast in stone. At the end, what matters is your fundamental duty, which says to develop scientific temper. So any practice or tradition which is regressive needs to undergo a change, otherwise it is not required. Is that clear? So custom and tradition is not antagonistic to modernity. Absolutely not. There are certain customs and traditions which actually helps you to ensure modernity. Is that very clear? So only those customs and traditions which are regressive in nature needs to be done away with. Is that clear? Can we proceed now? Okay. कहां थे हम? Collectivism. Rationality और ये हो गया collectivism. See, collectivism, as the word suggests, we are going to further the collective interest of the society or of the community. For example, if I have a family, then I will think about my family's interest first, and then I'm going to think about my self-interest. That is collectivism. I would be thinking about the interest of the community first, and then thinking about my personal interest. That is what is collectivism. On the opposite, it is individualism, where we are catering to our own individual interest. And that can be at the cost of collective interest as well. Is that very clear for everyone? I hope this is not supposed to be dictated. It is as simple as the term suggests. Then we have particularism versus universalism. To explain particularism, I'm making a statement. Try to understand. You show me the man, I show you the rule. You show me the man, I show you the rule. That means what matters in particularistic societies are the relationships, the bonds, the norms, the rules, the laws are not universally applicable. Is that very clear? It depends upon the circumstances. It depends upon the person against whom those rules, laws have to be implemented. Whereas on the other hand, universalistic society, it is the law, norms, rules that are being given primacy. So everybody is treated equally before the law. Is that clear? So, and in this context, it depends upon the circumstances. So you show me the man, I show you the rule. Is that very clear? Ye point likh lo. Write down particularism. It can be characterized as you show me the man. It can be characterized as you show me the man, I show you the rule. You show me the man, I show you the rule. Within that, right? circumstances dictate how ideas and practices are applied. Circumstances dictate how ideas and practices are applied. Some people are more equal than others. Some people are more equal than others. Some people are more equal than others. Universalism. Universalism. Everyone is equal and treated the same. Everyone is equal and treated the same. That is, ideas and practices can be applied everywhere. Ideas and practices can be applied everywhere without modification. Without modification. Without modification. Clear hai? Now, whatever the points which are written on the board under tradition and modernity, each term is clear for everyone. In case I use these terms in the future classes, will you be able to comprehend the meaning? Particularism, nepotism, favoritism, that is nothing but particularism. Parivarvad, Jativad, this is what? This is particularism. Okay? And universalism is where these things doesn't matter. The relationship, the friends doesn't matter. Now you want a contract. The other person knows you and you are making use of that relation in order to fetch that contract. That is particularism. You are making use of your friendship, your personal relationship to seek some advantage in the political or economic sphere. That is particularism. Clear hai? ठीक है? Now, it was assumed, now listen carefully, you have tradition, you have modern. It was assumed with these forces of change, we will move from tradition to modern. Now, what were those forces of change? With the emergence of British rule, the first thing that was being introduced was English language. Now, with English language, we were getting exposed to the Western values. We are not saying whether it is right or wrong, but we were getting exposed to Western values. Not only that, education was becoming secular. That means the religious content of education was reducing. It was moving more towards the secular content. So obviously new ideas were emerging. So the ideas which has emerged at one place because of printing technology, because of transport and communication, was spread in different parts. So it was expected with dissemination of ideas, new social change will emerge. Is that clear? Similarly, there were other developments which were taking place. For example, industrialization. Now, I'll discuss caste in detail later, but just one thing. Do we have an idea that initially it was caste-based occupational division of labor? Your caste used to identify or determine which occupation will you practice. Can I say with industrialization, there was factory system of production, where the jobs were given on the basis of your skill and not on the basis of your caste. That means with the emergence of industrialization, caste as a basis of occupational division of labor was declining, right? Second thing, with urbanization, that also I'll discuss later, but aaj keval ek reference dena hai. With urbanization, it is being said, not only you move from one place to other, but your attitude also changes. There is a value system which is associated with urbanization, and that is known as urbanism. ये वो आइडियोलॉजी होती है, अर्बनिज्म. आई डिस्कस लेटर डिटेल में, अभी कुछ मत लिखो. अर्बनिज्म इज एन आइडियोलॉजी विच इज एसोसिएटेड विथ अर्बनाइजेशन. आई गिव यू एन एग्जांपल. मतलब आपको इतना आइडिया है कि कास्ट सिस्टम जब पहले प्रैक्टिस होता था, सो देयर यूज्ड टू बी अ सेपरेशन ऑफ कॉन्टैक्ट. पीपल ऑफ अपर कास्ट were never in contact with the people of lower caste. There was a separation which was maintained. ये तो पता है ना सबको. At the back also, is everybody aware? ठीक है. So with urbanization, let us say Delhi is an urban area. Hey, do you travel by metro? Do you bother to ask the caste of the person standing next to you? भाई साहब कास्ट बताइए तो, सेपरेशन ऑफ कॉन्टैक्ट मेंटेन करना है. डू यू डू दैट? नो, यू डोंट. डू यू गो टू रेस्टोरेंट टू ईट फूड? डू यू से कॉल योर शेफ, आई नीड टू आस्क द कास्ट whether I can consume the food cooked by him or not? Because tradition societies में तो caste determines that exchange of food and water also. So that means no longer it is happening with urbanization. That means with urbanization, with industrialization, the role of those traditional status factors were declining. That means there were new indicators of social status. That means new elite classes were emerging, who were elite because of their education, because of their economic potential, because of their political power, rather than on the basis of their caste, gender, and etc. Is that very clear for everyone? So because of these factors, it was assumed that we have moved from tradition to modern society. It was assumed that we have become modernized. But what has happened in context of India is one disclaimer, whatever I teach in the class is not my opinion because it doesn't matter. Obviously, who am I? मैं कौन हूं जिसकी opinion matter करेगी? So whatever we are discussing, it is from the perspective of some scholar. So Dipankar Gupta has given the concept of mistaken modernity. We believe we have become modern. At max, what we have become is Western. So in the name of modernization, what has taken place is, and this is also a concept given by M.N. Srinivas. You don't have to remember the thinkers, neither you have to write the thinkers. I am just giving you the basis of my argument so that you get an understanding that there is a credibility behind whatever we are discussing. Is that very clear? So it was said that in the name of modernization, what has happened in context of India is westernization. I'll make you write everything. Now give the heading. Modernization versus westernization. एक छोटा सा टॉपिक है, खत्म करेंगे, देन वील डिस्पर्स फॉर द डे. मॉडर्नाइजेशन वर्सेस वेस्टर्नाइजेशन. मॉडर्नाइजेशन वर्सेस वेस्टर्नाइजेशन. राइट डन. Westernization refers to blind imitation. Westernization refers to blind imitation of culture of West. Westernization refers to blind imitation of culture of West. You are just blindly copying them. That is blind imitation of culture of West. Whereas modernization refers to rational transformation. Rational की जगह प्रोग्रेसिव भी लिख सकते हो अगर कोई भी कंफ्यूजन है तो. Progressive transformation of social, political, I'll repeat, modernization refers to progressive transformation of social, political, economical, and attitudinal aspect of life. Clear है? Next point. The scope of westernization is limited to speech, clothing, food habits, music preference, speech, clothing, food habits, music preference, etc. Whereas, I'll repeat, the scope of westernization is limited to food habits, speech, clothing, music preference, etc. Whereas modernization is a fundamental concept. Modernization is a fundamental concept which aims to bring about changes, in values, behavior, infrastructure, etc. Values, behavior, infrastructure, etc. For example, industrialization, urbanization, modern education system. Clear hai? Next point. Can we say westernization is an elite concept? Not everybody can afford westernization. Westernization is an elite concept. Westernization is an elite concept. Limited to, westernization is an elite concept limited to middle and upper class, whereas modernization is a mass affair. Modernization is a mass affair that penetrates. Modernization is a mass affair that penetrates every section of society. Modernization is a mass affair which penetrates every section of society. Are the differences clear? Is it making sense for everyone? Now, speech, clothing, just now we spoke about obsession with English language. That's westernization. Obsession with Western music, Western dance form. कोई traditional dance सीखना ही नहीं चाहता. सबको वो Western dance forms सीखने हैं. Is that very clear? ठीक है? So these are nothing. So overall, can I say, overall conclusion में, can I say that westernization per se is not wrong? But that's your individual choice. Whatever you want to eat, whatever you want to wear, that's your personal choice. But in the name of westernization, saying that you are getting modernized is definitely wrong. Is that clear? Another concluding remark, can I say that modernization and tradition can coexist? Example, Japan. It is an example of modernity, yet they have be able to retain their traditional practices. So modernity is not against tradition. It is only against those practices which are regressive in nature. So the background is clear for everyone. Whatever discussed so far, जो भी थोड़ा बहुत आज हमने पढ़ा, are you getting some understanding? Again, please, we have not started studying अभी. आज जो ये था ये पढ़ाई नहीं थी. ठीक है, ये सिर्फ एक इंटरैक्शन था. पढ़ेंगे हम नेक्स्ट क्लास से. दैट इज जॉइंट फैमिली वुड बी द फर्स्ट टॉपिक. इज दैट वेरी क्लियर? ठीक है. सो पेस वाज फाइन फॉर द डिक्टेशन. विल इट वर्क फॉर एवरीवन? जस्ट ट्राई अटेम्प्टिंग द क्वेश्चंस व्हिच आर गिवन टू यू. बस एक रुक जाओ. देयर इज एक क्वेश्चन है, व्हाट इज द डिफरेंस बिटवीन इंडिविजुअलिज्म एंड पर्टिकुलरिज्म? एनीबडी वांट्स टू कंट्रीब्यूट टू दैट? What is the difference between individualism and particularism? See, you need to understand, दोनों बातें अलग context में कही गई हैं. Individualism मतलब whose interest to be served, right? So that is my personal self-interest. I'll give you, guys, एक second. There is a scholar, आपने Fountainhead किताब का नाम सुना है? नहीं भी सुना है तो आप सुन लो. Fountainhead is a book. It's written by Ayn Rand. Guys, just 2 minutes of yours. Listen carefully. Ayn Rand is a scholar who talks about, she says that serving your vested interest is also not bad. Because charity begins at home. If you are not happy, you cannot keep the world happy. But listen very carefully. It doesn't mean if some scholar says something, then you have to abide by it. Because every school of thought has having a different perspective. So someone who appreciates or who identifies with Ayn Rand can say it is absolutely normal to serve your individualistic interest. That is self-interest. Whereas if I go on the other end of the story, for example, utilitarian approach. किसी ने पॉल साइंस पढ़ी है? ठीक है, जेरेमी बेंथम सुना है? ठीक है, नहीं भी सुना तो हम एथिक्स में कर लेंगे. So the point here is, तो जेरेमी बेंथम says that you have to serve the interest of others. You don't have to serve your own interest. दोनों के स्कूल ऑफ थॉट्स अलग है. अब आप पे डिपेंड करता है आप कौन सा स्कूल ऑफ थॉट फॉलो करो. इज दैट वेरी क्लियर? सो कमिंग बैक टू द डाउट विच वाज आस्क्ड, इंडिविजुअलिज्म इज सेइंग दैट यू आर फर्दरिंग योर ओन इंटरेस्ट, बट पर्टिकुलरिज्म सेज हाउ द लॉज और द रूल्स वुड बी इंप्लीमेंटेड. पर्टिकुलरिज्म इज अ बिलीफ which says that ideas and practices will be depending upon the circumstances while they are getting implemented. But individualism is whose interest are we going to serve. That's the basic difference between individualism and particularism. Particularism is a belief with respect to ideas and practices, whereas individualism is with respect to your own interest. Is that very clear for everyone? On this note, we conclude. Bye, people.